Hi, folks, and welcome at this very, very special episode of Enterprise Management with Windows 365. So this episode will include many demos, which you all do very much appreciate because you're IT pros. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe on our Windows IT Pro YouTube channel to stay up to date about the latest news around Windows 365. So with that, I'm very excited to introduce Doug, Anusha, and Abraham from our engineering team with you. So Doug, let me start with you first. I know you from back in the FS Logics days, so can you tell the viewers here what you do as part of the team and everything you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. From FS Logic days, and I think even a little before with Rez, Altiris, and others. So, Christian, great to be here with you at Microsoft. At Microsoft, I'm working on IT management, obviously, based on the session. I look after the SLA, our point-in-time restore, which is our BCDR solution, and also around the administrative connectivity experience.
Yeah, great to have you here. And Anusha, what are you doing as part of the team?
I'm a product manager at Microsoft for Win365. I'm responsible for IT Pro alerting, that's Windows 365 system-based alerting, and reporting features on Intune. And today I'm excited to present some very exciting reports on Intune.
Yeah, we are excited to have you as well. And Abe, all from Miami right now. What are you doing as part of the team?
Hi, folks. My name is Abraham. I'm also a product manager in the Windows 365 team. So I work with Doug and Anusha. Specifically, I own all of the flexibility story for Windows 365. So if you're familiar with the resize feature, that's the feature area that I own. And today I'm going to be talking about some really exciting upgrades that we're making to the resize story. So look out for that.
Yeah, thanks, Abraham. And all those things are very, very important because user experience is key as part of Windows 365. And in general, of course, as all IT parts of your implementation are important to provide a good user experience for. We have another guest here, which is Clippy. He or she keeps probably silent on the background. But because we are in the holiday season, or let's say it passes along, I thought let's bring a nice ugly Christmas sweater as well as part of this episode. Hey, segueing in a more serious topic, which is enterprise management. Doc, can you give the audience here a little bit of a intro on how and why enterprise management is so important for IT pros and users as part of Windows 365?
Yeah, absolutely. Windows 365 is really targeted, especially the enterprise product, to enterprise IT admins. And so as part of that, we want to make sure that there's an excellent experience in terms of visibility of what's going on in your tenant, the ability to drill down and see information for each of your Cloud PC devices and users, and then also to be able to remediate and take action when you find a problem. That's what we're going to talk about today. Is everything from alerting all the way down to taking action on each of those items.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm very looking forward to the demos that you guys prepared. And so does the IT Pro as well watching this. So Anusha, I know you have prepared some great demos as well. So can you start showing some in-product experiences that we have around endpoint analytics and how alerting, a new feature we just released as well, plays a very important role in that proactive management as well as monitoring solution we provide?
Absolutely. Those two are great features, and I'm all ready to walk you through endpoint analytics reporting and as well as IT alerting. The goal of system-based alerting on Intune for Windows 365 environment is so you're informed on all the critical issues happening within the environment so you can take control over it and make sure your environment stays healthy and you can take action on these issues when they come up. You will be notified of critical issues that are affecting your Cloud PC users within the environment. You will be able to configure and define these alerts today for some of the resources like Azure Network Connection, device, image, and also provisioning policy. Now I will show you some of the visuals, how you can actually define, configure these alerts, and also how you can be notified in the in-portal pop-up notification or email notification. So let's dive into the demo.
Windows 365 system-based alerting capability lies within tenant administration and is currently in preview. Let me do a quick demo to show how alerting works. This is where an admin will see alert events for active alerts and alert history, can also track the condition of a Cloud PC alert event such as severity, state, and date. As you can see, by default, only active alerts are surfaced to the endpoint admin user, but they also have an option to filter by resolve alerts. Admins can also filter based on severity. To help the admin user investigate any service critical failures as quickly as possible and have a clear understanding of the status of a failed alert event, we have an event summary page. This event summary page provides more detailed overview of the specific alert event that failed. By clicking on the reports link, an endpoint admin user will be redirected to the actual related alert event page that provides them more details of the failed alert event so an admin can take necessary steps to resolve the issue. Let me quickly show you how you can specify and define these alert rules. Taking an example here as the Azure Network Connection Failure Alert Rule. Admins can define alert rules based on options like setting the thresholds, also the frequency and the channel you would like to be notified in. Today we support in-console messaging and an email notification to the admins. You can also enable and disable these alerts, set a severity to these alerts, and also localization support is provided. So you can also choose the language the admin would like to be notified in and apply these changes. Admin user will be notified in portal to show that the alert rule was just modified. So this is how we deliver the alerting experience for an endpoint administrator. Endpoint admins will be made aware of critical issues affecting their Cloud PC users so they can take control and ensure their Windows 365 Cloud PC environment continues to stay healthy.
So those demos are great, Anusha, and alerting is one of my favorite features as well, because it really creates that hand-holding experience for an IT admin to make him aware of things, or he or she aware of things that happen in the environment before even noticing on the end user side. So what are we doing more in terms of resource performance, in terms of CPU, RAM? How can we detect whether the performance of the Cloud PC is not looking good from the IT admin side from within Endpoint Analytics? Can you show something like that?
Absolutely.
Let's look at Resource Performance Report in Endpoint Analytics. Resource Performance Report in Endpoint Analytics helps you to optimize CPU and RAM resources on the Cloud PC devices in your organization. Resource Performance Score is an overall performance rating from 0 to 100 for all the Cloud PCs that you manage. Two metrics, CPU and RAM spike time scores, make up the Resource Performance Score. This score is a weighted average of CPU and RAM spike time scores. You can look at trends over time. CPU and RAM spike time percentage is a ratio of CPU and RAM spike times to the total usage time averaged over a 14-day period. Usage over 50% is considered a spike for CPU. Usage over 75% is considered a spike for RAM. Baseline helps you to see if you're meeting your goals. You can set the baseline to an organizational median or a custom value. Insights and recommendations show you how many devices have above average spike time and suggests actions to improve your scores. Let's look at model performance. Model performance lets you review CPU and RAM spike time scores and percentages for each Cloud PC model SKU in your organization. Device performance, you can review CPU and RAM spike time scores and percentages for each Cloud PC device in your organization. When you select a particular device, you will be able to see more granular details of this specific device. If the device score here is below the baseline, you can improve device performance and score by adding more resources to the device and taking a resize action. Abraham can provide more details on resizing later in the session. This is how you would use Resource Performance Report in Endpoint Analytics to provide more insights on CPU and RAM resources on the Cloud PC and how you can improve your performance.
So thanks, Anusha. Those are great and really great insights for the IT admin to see if the performance is consistently and doing as expected in the Cloud PC environment. So what if, and this is something I want to ask you, Abram, like what if the performance isn't well? Like what are we doing in terms of resizing, up and downsizing and bulk resizing, as well as part of this configuration and as well the integration we have with the Cloud PC as well as endpoint analytics. So can you guide us through that? Like what have we done there?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Christian. So resize is a great functionality that allows IT admins to allocate more resources or deallocate resources to specific end users' Cloud PC. So you can increase or decrease RAM, you can increase or decrease cores within a Cloud PC, and you can increase storage in a Cloud PC. Today, the resize functionality works for direct assigned licenses, and it only allows admins to resize individual users at a time. With the next version of resize, we're actually going to allow IT admins to resize bulk devices in one single time. So you can resize anywhere between one device up to 1,000 devices at a single time. Moreover, we're also going to be supporting resize for group-based licenses, which today it only supports direct assigned licenses. So in the future, it's also going to support group-based licensing resize. So I actually like to show you a demo of how the bulk resizing is going to be working in the future. So right now, we're in the Microsoft Endpoint Manager bulk device action play. Here, you can perform bulk device actions to multiple devices in your organization. So let's go ahead and try a bulk resize. I'm going to pick my operating system, which is Windows. I'm going to select the device type, which now, in the past, you could only select, you didn't have a drop down for Cloud PCs or physical devices. In the future, we're actually going to allow you to pick whether you want to perform an action on your virtual devices, which is your Cloud PCs, or your physical devices. So now we're going to pick Cloud PCs, and let's choose the resize action. Once you choose the action, you're going to get this two set of parameters that you need to input. So your source size and your target size. These are going to work as your top level filters so that we know which Cloud PCs from which users you want to resize. So let's pick the source size first. We're going to select the 2-core, 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage Cloud PC. And now let's pick our target size. So let's select the 4-core, 16 gig, 256 gigs of storage Cloud PC. Here you can see also how many licenses you have available so that you know that you can perform a bulk resize. So let's go ahead and click next. And here we've added even more filters for the admin to be able to select which users they want to resize. You might be familiar with selecting individual devices, which is how the bulk device action blade works today, but we're also allowing you two more options. So selecting devices from existing device groups or applying actions to devices registered to its group members. So licensing of Cloud PCs are very tied to AAD groups. So whenever you assign licensing to AAD groups, the users within that AAD group are going to get a Cloud PC provision. So this makes it easier for the admin to identify the devices that they want to resize. So let's go ahead and select that option. Now we get this drop down where we're going to select the AAD group, and let's pick group 3. Click on select. And now we get a full drop-down list with all of the devices that meet the criteria specified for your target size. And these should all be basically 2-core Cloud PCs. So now we're in the review and create page where I can see that I've selected my group 3 and 470 devices that I want to take a resize on. Here I can see that all of these devices are ready to resize. But if for whatever reason the devices were not ready to resize, we're also going to be showing that to the admin. So that could be maybe because you're running an older generation Cloud PC, or it could be because this user already has a target size Cloud PC and you cannot resize that specific user to that Cloud PC. But let's focus on the happy path where all of your devices are ready to be resized. After you click on create, all of these devices will be placed on a pending state, which means that they're waiting for a license to be assigned to the specific users or the users within this AAD group. In this case, we're going to be assigning the 4-core license to this specific AAD group. And once that happens, this will actually trigger a resize of this 470 devices.
So thanks, Abraham. This is a great feature for enterprises that will need to resize their Cloud PCs on a bulk manner. I think it's on top of the list of requests. So thanks for doing that, and as well the devs that have been working on this. So pivoting from resizing back to performance and how we can show like resource performance, let's say connectivity and insights on round trip time, latency and such. Doc, what are we doing there to show those insights to the IT admin?
Yeah. Thanks, Christian. Great to have the opportunity to talk about this because we've got a lot of new things coming up. And I'll go ahead and just jump into a quick demo on this. So when we look at the administrative portal in Intune for Windows 365, we have this new blade that is the Cloud PC Performance Blade. This has a number of reports already. We have the low utilization report. This allows administrators to know whether or not their specific devices are being utilized and allows them to optimize their license utilization. They can look at under 40 hours. We have a couple of other filters in here to let them know how much these devices are being utilized. And then they can take action. It may be that the device doesn't quite meet the user needs and they need to do a resize. Maybe the license needs to be assigned to another user, but it allows them to optimize their spend. And we're really excited to provide that. The other thing, or the other report that I want to talk about in a little more depth is the connection quality. So when we talk about performance, Anusha talked about resources inside of the device, and that's super important to make sure that your user has the right device. But we also provide some information around the network and how the network is performing for these devices. So right here, we're looking at round trip times of over 200 milliseconds. In this particular tenant, we don't have any devices in that range. So I'm going to change the filter to show devices between 100 milliseconds and 200 milliseconds. And we see we have a number of devices that fall into this range. So I'm just going to grab one of these devices and drill down into that a bit to kind of show how an administrator can take more action on this. We also have this new performance blade, and this allows us to look deeply at each individual device and understand what's going on. So you can see here, we have details on trends for round trip time, the sign-in time required for each device, as well as the bandwidth that we see available for the devices. And this gives us trends over a period of time. If we want to see the specifics for each device, we can go into the report. And in the report, we can actually see specific events, the date and time that those occurred, and look for anomalies to help our users have a better experience. We also have this availability. And as you see on this device is available. But what if this device were unavailable? What could we do there? And there are a few things. So the first one I want to talk about is, let's go ahead and switch over to a device that actually is not available. And now that we're in a device that's not available, we could actually click on this unavailable link right here. When we click on that unavailable link, we're brought into a troubleshooter. Once we're in the troubleshooter, we actually can see why is the device unavailable. In this case, it's because the stack listener is not running properly. We can click on the troubleshooter, and the stack listener happens to be one of the options we have that we can automatically remediate with our troubleshooting action. So if we click on the troubleshooter, that brings us into the actual troubleshooting action. Now, as you can see, now that we're in the troubleshooting action, we're troubleshooting the connection. This can take up to 20 minutes, but we're checking a lot of things. We're checking stack listener, we're checking domain join, and some other things that could cause a Cloud PC to not be available. And we'll also automatically remediate that. So in addition to checking and finding out what the problem is, we'll fix it for the user. So now we'll go ahead and jump back into the device that is available and see how we make some of these analyses. So now we're back in our device that's available. And if we look at our connection history, this helps us understand how we determine if a device is available or not. Windows 365 is continually running health checks in the background on every device. If one of these health checks is not healthy, as we can see happen down here, and I'll talk about that a little more in a minute, then these are actually fatal health checks. So if one of these is not healthy, then we'll show the device is unavailable and bring up the troubleshooter and allow a remediation to be taken. You'll notice, though, that we have just, this is showing kind of current time, but then we jump back several days. And the reason we do that is we don't want to show days and days and days of just healthy activity. So all we do is show if there's a failure at some point, we'll show the activity around that failure. This helps an administrator troubleshoot. So let's say that a user calls an administrator and says, hey, yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't connect or I had a problem. The administrator can come into this connectivity history and actually target that exact time that the user is saying they had a problem and understand what was going on at that time. So a really, really robust mechanism for administrators to use in order to troubleshoot a device. Let's say, though, that there's a problem that isn't able to be remediated through the troubleshooter. Let's, as an example, let's say that a user turned off their network entirely for their device. Obviously, that's going to be a real problem for the user and the administrator. No one is going to be able to attach to that device. So then we could use the restore option. And what restore does is allows us to go back to a specific point in time for that device where it was healthy. And I can just go ahead and choose any point in time here. Once I select that, I have this option to restore. I'm not actually going to do that. This device doesn't need to be restored. But if I clicked on restore, it would go back to that healthy point in time for that specific device and allow the user to be back up and running without any additional remediation there. The other thing that I want to show around point in time restore, there may be a scenario where you would need to do that for multiple devices. So we do have bulk actions. So for bulk actions, we can go back and this was also available, if you remember, for resize. We can go ahead and jump into the devices, all devices, and we have bulk actions available. For this case, I'm going to go ahead and just select Windows as my device and focus on, again, the restore action here. And not all Cloud PCs will have the same restore points available. And so I choose a date and time, and then I can decide, do I want to choose the restore point for each specific device I select that's either the closest before that time, after, or just whatever is closest. I'll select before that date and time. Click Next. I can select the devices that I want to include when I do my restore. And so I'm going to do a restore on all these devices. Again, I'm not actually going to do this right now. These devices are healthy. But if I click Next and actually execute the restore, all of these devices will be restored to the point in time that's closest to the point in time that I selected, or closest before the point in time I selected. So really excited to show the opportunities for administrators to understand what's going on in their tenant, be able to take action on each of those activities. And as I mentioned, all of those reports that we found in the Windows 365 Performance Blade are going to be enhanced, and we're going to expand the number of reports there.
Thanks, Doc. And that's an amazing feature for enterprises. But what are we doing for disaster recovery case scenarios as well as part of this?
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that, Chris John. Yeah, a really exciting announcement that we made in October at Ignite is around the point-in-time feature that I just talked about. We're actually automatically managing disaster recoveries for zones. So in the case of Windows 365, all Windows 365 devices are provisioned to regions that have zones in them. So in the case of when you provision a Cloud PC, what you're going to have happen is your Cloud PCs are going to be provisioned to one of at least 3 zones in that region. And presumably they're going to be roughly distributed equally across those zones. But what happens if one of those zones go down? And for people who are not familiar really with Azure regions and zones, because I know Windows 365 has a lot of folks who use it as a service, and it's great that we abstract that so you don't need to worry about it. But when we talk about zones, you can think about it kind of as a data center. It's not an exact analogy, but it's really close. So let's say that one of these zones go down, and so the devices in that zone are unavailable. In this case, we'll kind of say that zone 2 has had a problem. Point-in-time restore, what we just looked at, exact same interface, exact same flow. If you find out that these devices are not operating and you do a restore on that device to the most recent time, then we're going to automatically discover that the infrastructure where that device was provisioned to is unavailable. And we will provision that, if it's available, to another zone in that same region. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to know anything to make the disaster recovery. We will automatically recover from that scenario. And the other really exciting thing about the way we do this is because the zones are in the same region, the performance for these newly provisioned Cloud PCs is exactly the same as it was originally. So your user retains all of the context for their Cloud PC, and also their performance is going to remain the same. So you don't have to worry about in the future taking them down again to do a fail back like you do with a lot of disaster recovery solutions. You just keep running with the new Cloud PC. So really excited. It's a great way to handle disaster recovery, and a lot of good feedback on it from our customers who have been interested in this.
Thanks, Doc. That's really amazing. And it really takes the IT admin experiences and options that users and customers have with Windows 365 to the next level. So thanks for sharing those. And then we come at the end of this episode, and I really would like to offer the audience as well to stay in touch with you guys. So Doc, how can people stay in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn, follow me on LinkedIn, and that's a great way to keep in touch with me.
Yeah, thanks. And Anusha, how can people stay in touch with you?
You can follow me on LinkedIn, Anusha Reddy, so you can stay in touch with me for more updates. Thank you.
Sounds good. And Abraham, what about yourself?
You can also follow me on LinkedIn. My name is Abraham Pineda, so look me up and let's connect. Great
guest. So thank you really for being here and really serve with great content, great demos. And it's really amazing how far we go with enterprise-grade management experiences as part of the product. So hope to get you back at some point and see how much more features we will ship in the next upcoming 12 months. But before that, I would like to thank you as well, the audience, the IT pros, and everybody else joining. And if you are interested in watching more episodes of Windows in the Cloud, please go to aka.ms/Windows in the Cloud to stay up to date, watch episodes back, and see what episodes we have more in store for you. So thank you for watching and enjoy the holidays as well. Thank you.